News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth with darkoakmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian. And to all our waddling Antarctic allies that are always dressed to kill, I want to wish you a very happy National Penguin Day.
Nice. Okay.
I was going to say their scientific name, but I felt like I might have to press the dump button on myself if I mispronounce it.
Now, that is interesting. Now you're making me curious, Max. What is their scientific name?
It's Sphenicidae. I'm loosely pronouncing it because if I say it wrong, like I said, you're going to hear half of Max.
I mean, who doesn't love penguins? Even Allan. I know you've probably eaten penguin, but I mean,
why do you always leap to that assumption?
Tell me you haven't. I mean, that's
or haven't considered.
I know Allan, so he's
I'm
bragged
a bit
about
of
it
an international connoisseur, but yeah, penguins are very cool. They're fun. They're cute. There's even semi-tropical, even little semi-tropical penguins these days.
Well, I've seen the warm weather penguins and stuff.
Yep.
So pretty
Got 'em
cool. All right, well that's
however,
a good one.
the Antarctic ones would be really happy here this week.
Yeah, they'd fit right in. No
They
kidding.
would have no problem.
Okay, well there you go. International Penguin Day. No, it's national, which makes no sense. I mean, we don't even have that many penguins in America. I don't know if
We have
any.
no indigenous penguins.
So-
no.
How about puffins? Do puffins qualify?
I don't know.
They're related. No, they fly and they're
Okay.
pretty. They
Okay.
have colors.
They're pretty, and they're from Iceland.
Hey,
Yes.
we can love penguins. Doesn't matter. Anyway, if you want to get in touch with us and chime in on anything, it could even have to do with home improvement. You can get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. You can call or text. You can even send in pictures. If you have a pet penguin, you could have just had them outside in the yard with you this week. But also, if you want to watch the show, you can go to the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page or the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page and check out the action over there. And also, while you're on social media, go on over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. We've already got 3 posts up there. This is going to be pretty cool, Allan. So we've got Max he brought the must-have item of the weekend. This is a precision instrument. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, I got a little envy this morning.
Yeah. It's a pretty nice tool. I mean, whenever you need something of this precision, you need it. But I don't know. That wasn't a very good tease, but whatever. It's a cool device that Max brought in. Also, I posted. We're going to have a little fun today because we're going to wind up having to talk about the cold. But
that's a given. Yeah.
But we wanted to have something fun in our historically terrible, and so we are going to discuss padded toilet seats with particular emphasis on fur-lined toilet seat lid covers and toilet tank covers.
I'm having a late 70s flashback already.
Well, some people are still making this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Bacteria farms and everything. But anyway, we got a pretty cool picture of that up on our Facebook page. And then, this is going to be good. In our Great Moments in Building History, pronounce it for me, Allan.
The Oresund Bridge.
That's good. I don't have to press the dump button on Allan.
Nope.
No, it's pretty cool. It's spelled pretty. It's got a weird O. It's got the O with the slash through it. But they call it the Disappearing Bridge of Denmark and Sweden. Those countries are right next to each other, and there is a bridge that connects them.
Yep.
But the disappearing factor is pretty interesting. If you go to our Facebook page, you'll see it. Really one of the most unique bridges that I've ever seen. And it's got a lot of it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing. Allan's week in review, as you might imagine, involved pipes freezing, whatever, tragedy to do with the cold. So, and I guess what we're gonna do today, I guess we're gonna probably kick off with this. Let's one of the calls to actions for our listeners. We'd love to hear. We're a week into this thing. The roads are still iced up. I mean, some of the roads are open and everything, but we'd love to hear your Snowstorm 2024 battle stories. I mean, we've all had our challenges. I even have a confession coming up involving the cold weather. So, but we got a lot out there. So let's see. Let's jump into it. Let's get some of these stories out there. and discuss that. I had a question though, Alan, to kick things off. I don't own a pickup truck, and I know you do.
Oh, yes.
Okay, the particular street I live on is it's prone to anytime there's bad weather or anytime there's something like this, there's a lot of spin outs, there's a lot of people getting stuck. Okay, I saw an unusually large number of pickup trucks, and these are big. I would assume 4-wheel drive and everything stuck on the side.
Oh, yeah.
And my daughter reminded me of something that her cousin told her about pickup trucks in Chicago, and I seem to remember there's a little trick that you do with that. And I don't know if people here in the South are as familiar, but you know this trick, so I'm going to let you explain it. But
you mean those 10 bags of topsoil I now own?
there you go. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the idea is put some weight in the back of that truck. Get you some bags of sand or topsoil or something like that that's, relatively a small bag, but yet, has some weight to it.
Right.
About 10 of them will do it.
Because they're, 50 pounds? So you're adding about 500
about 40,
pounds of weight.
About 400, 500 pounds. And the cool thing is, if you do start, you get one of those little really slick spots where you're just not going, you automatically got traction. You got a bag of sand. So,
right. You can throw it under the tires. And
you do.
Yeah. Well, what's this? I know there's a scientific reason for it, because you would think, you would think, okay, what you want is light. You want your vehicle to be as light as possible.
Oh, no.
But no, not necessarily.
Not necessarily. The idea is, well, let's face it, in the modern pickup truck, practically all the weight of the vehicle is over the front.
Sure.
So the engine is there, the cab is there, the people are at least in the top half of the vehicle.
Right.
The back half of the vehicle is honestly basically a drivetrain and your power. And there's where your problem lies. Generally, when you're talking about driving on snow and ice, a front-wheel drive vehicle is highly superior to a rear-wheel drive vehicle.
Now, I've always known it, yeah. Well,
Because-
or four-wheel drive is the best, but yeah.
Well, all-wheel drive is the best.
It's
all-wheel
pulling
drive, then four-wheel drive, then two-wheel drive in the front, and then two-wheel drive in the back.
Right.
In order of what you want to own during this past week.
Yep.
So, for those of you that have a forward, all the power comes out of the front two wheels. Generally, you're constantly being pulled along without anything to guide.
Right.
Now, when you have like a pickup truck like I do, got a nice long bed on it, where you're getting your power is way back there in the back, and you're trying to steer that way up here in the front. And when you throw in some ice, or especially like Thursday morning, some wet ice, they don't always agree.
I think Thursday was the worst day.
It was.
Well, in the morning, and then in the afternoon it cleared up.
Thursday at 9:15 in the morning was the absolute worst, as my truck began performing Swan Lake or any other ballet you want to call out, because my truck did things I didn't think a truck could do.
My thought would be just if you own a pickup truck, go get yourself 10 bags of sand. Go stick them in your backyard. They're not going to spoil.
Nope.
They're not. Nobody's going to steal them. Who cares? And then maybe just for kicks, throw in 1 bag of salt. Just in case, and leave it in the pile. So.
Well, that's why I have the little sealed bucket back there, because sometimes you need it.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to continue the cold weather conversation when we come back here in Allan's Week in Review. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Good news, everyone! I'm in terrible pain.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Well, at least he knows he's alive. And when you get to be his age, that's all he cares about. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989, especially if you want to share some of your Snowstorm 2024 battle stories, or what you've been going through, and or maybe tips. Maybe you've conquered the cold and you want to share your advice. That's the way to do it. You can also watch the show at the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page or the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. And we also invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the 3 posts we've made over there for our must-have item of the week, our great moments in building history, and our discussion coming up in historically terrible 1970s padded toilet seats. If you're just tuning in, we were talking earlier about sandbags in the pickup truck, which sounds like the name of a country music song, Alan. But
I'm sure
anyway, we're going to continue the cold weather conversation. Oh, there you go, Max. Very good. This is kind of your weekend. I mean, your weekend review was not unique, though, Alan. I think all of us were dealing with it.
It's everybody's weekend review.
So maybe it's the Mid-South's weekend review.
Yeah. Let's start with the word fatberg.
Talk to me.
All right, here we go.
We haven't talked about a fatberg in a while.
We
You might have
haven't.
to explain what that is for
All right.
new listeners.
Well, we live in the South, and, as a stereotype, we in the South have a tendency to like fried foods.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So says the guy with the Chicago Cubs cap on.
Right.
So, welcome to, you've been told for decades, do not put your grease down the sink.
Right.
Put it in a storage container, throw it away, whatever, but don't
How about the
put it down.
toilets?
Please don't.
Yeah, great.
And people do. That's
Yeah, they're
what
like,
got
well, I
me.
didn't put it down the drain.
I didn't.
flushed
I poured it down the. You're like, oh my gosh. Okay. Well, of course, anytime you get to freezing temperatures, things that can solidify will.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, grease, if you've put a bunch of grease down the sink, can lock up really fast.
And grease includes butter and olive oil and any oily thing that can freeze.
Oil.
Right.
Any oil. And that also includes, believe it or not, do not pour out like old hand creams.
Well, sure.
Or moisturizers or stuff. Well, somebody finds an expired bottle and, next thing you know, they're in the bathroom with the water on, putting it down the sink. And
I hope not, but okay.
All I'm saying is
people do things. So.
I have found everything from dentures to entire bed sheets in people's plumbing.
And we know your adventures.
It's insane. So, a duplex in Midtown, I get the phone call, drains aren't working. It's like, oh, okay. Who put what down what?
Which drain? So you're talking about the kitchen?
My kitchen drain's not draining, and I'm like, okay, you're on the bottom floor, right? Yeah, you're the lowest point leaving this building. It's 2 stories. There's like 8 units. And I'm like, all right, one of your idiot neighbors has put something with oil down the drain, and it is blocking up, and you being on the bottom, you're finding it first.
You get all the,
Well, do I need to boil some water? No, don't put boiling water down it. Warm water, yes. Don't shock stuff into breaking.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, don't put boiling hot water.
I've so many people, and then I get a phone call going, well, I made up this mixture of water and vinegar. I got it good and warm. I'm going to go de-ice my car glass. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not putting any form of warm liquid, I don't care what kind, on frozen glass.
Because it's going to, for one thing, you might crack it and it might freeze again in 2 minutes.
There's no it might crack it. It's going to crack it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, all right, don't do that. Get into your car if you need to, however you need to get in, but please don't put warm liquids against cold glass. Guaranteed way to shatter it.
Yeah, good point.
Oh, Lord. Next one is, I actually had a little fun with, I had a unique problem in the fact that I had one building that for some bizarre reason has this exposed water pipe between buildings. This is like somebody just ran this, they just run it.
No need to protect that or to insulate it or...
Well,
Yeah.
the good news is
Wait,
something.
hang on. You had an exposed water line, like a copper
Yeah.
water line.
Yeah, it's
Okay, for one thing, that's not a code. I mean, that would
No,
never.
this
but
is- yeah.
Talk about vulnerable. What if somebody bangs into it with the lawnmower or the weed whacker or something?
It's in an elevated place between stories, but it's
still
a terrible,
totally
terrible idea.
exposed. So, okay.
And so this is where everybody is sitting here going, there's no way this is going to make it. And I'm like, yeah, I told y'all last year to get rid of this, but it's still here. So welcome to pipe tape.
Yeah, talk to me, because
All right, if you
I think
don't
we
know
mentioned
what I'm
that last
talking
week,
about,
but yeah.
if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is a product, and this is just what the big box need from me today is a rush on a product.
Oh, they're all sold out. Don't worry.
Over in the plumbing aisle, there is a electrical wrap that you can put on a pipe that you plug into the wall that has a thermostat. And it will keep a pipe from freezing, according to the box, down to -40.
Yeah.
I hope I never find out if that works. But I will say this, when it below freezing temperatures, these things, whatever they're wrapped on, they will keep them warm. Not hot, but warm.
Right. Which is what you want. You don't
It's
want the
just enough to
extreme.
keep it from freezing. That's
Yeah.
all it's going to be. I mean, if you put your hand on it, it's not going to burn you.
Right.
But oh my gosh, especially if you have like exposed pipes in your attic, like you have.
Yeah, we had till I fixed it.
You got them all nice and wrapped.
Right.
But if you've got a power source and you've got pipes that are vulnerable or could be vulnerable, this is an elegant solution to keep things from freezing.
Because we remember, and I'm sure it happened this year, a lot of people have those tankless water heaters, and if they're up in the attic, that for whatever reason, there are areas of those pipes that are totally exposed. They're just exposed to the elements, and that's where they fail. That's where they crack, and that's where you want that heat tape, right?
And there's a trick of physics here that I'm going to confirm for people. Hot water freezes faster than cold water.
See, I never believed that. I always thought that was just one of those.
It is actually
It
true.
makes no sense to me. Maybe you could explain it.
I actually tried this as a teenager. We had 2 bird baths at home. And I actually,
Of course, you didn't try it in the freezer. You had to try it on the bird bath.
Yeah, well, they're in the bird baths in the backyard. It's like 20 degrees.
Yeah.
So I went out there and I filled one up with cold water and I filled one up with hot water. And it has to do with crystalline structures and molecular densities.
Yeah, of course.
AKA the hot water is further apart and more active than the cold water. Cold water is denser. So it takes longer for the crystals to penetrate.
So I'm picturing almost like on a molecular level, I'm picturing almost like a sponge where you have air holes and you've
got more
exposure
space.
to-
So as that crystalline structure begins, it can invade easier. So that is why a originally hot water will freeze. It'll still be semi-warm in the middle, and you'll have ice crystals around the outside. I have actually tried this.
Oh, I believe you.
And but the problem is, like, when you have these new types of heating systems, water that you previously heated that you are now leaving static in the line is very vulnerable.
Well, I mean, an
And everybody's
exposed pipe in an attic that's 1 degree is vulnerable. I don't care.
Yeah,
whatever it is. Yeah.
And even if you have the new PEX system, I know it's expandable. I know it says it doesn't burst. Please don't try this out. If you have water pipes and you made it through this, really consider as spring gets here, let's do some spring cleaning with a lot of pipe wrap. Let's get up there and let's get these things insulated against both the hot and the cold.
We talk about that during the year. It's like this is a good time of year to think about your air conditioner because nobody else is.
It does.
And then in the summer, think about your getting ready for next winter. And
Your
stuff.
heat,
And,
yeah.
and while, yeah, I mean, but you don't want to wait till now because literally the big box stores are cleaned out. I mean, if you go to the heating aisle like that, you're not gonna find this heating tape. I'll tell you that.
Right. Then a
looked.
couple of weeks from now, when it comes back in
Right.
stock, now it's a good time to do it when you're not freezing and miserable.
Right. So, but it's good to know that stuff works. I did have a question when we come back about. I think it's similar to the heating tape, but it's that plug-in like heating wire. It's
Same
just
stuff.
It
Exact
is,
same thing.
but I feel like there's probably a different installation technique or something, and we'll go over that because I know people are buying that too.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. Well, we're gonna keep it chilly around here on Tool Talk Radio, but don't worry because later we've got a lot of fun, warm weather. Well, I guess it's warm, but when we come back, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan. News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Don't slip on the ice. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios.
I'm inadvertently starting to hear a theme for today's show.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially if you're carrying, 200 pounds of lumber. I'm Joe Thorson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. You're with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show. You can go to the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page or the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page and see the live feed going on. And also, we invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. There's 3 posts up there. And we're not going to rehash them every time, but they're pretty interesting. And check them out over there. In a minute, we're going to get back to our cold weather. We're not going to only talk about the cold, but let's face it, it's what's on everybody's mind right now. And we're kind of sharing our own battle stories. We invite you to, if you've got any interesting pictures, maybe you got a 20-foot icicle hanging off the second story of your house or something. I don't know. If you got anything, or if you had a lot of success with protecting your family from the cold or something, or maybe horror stories. We want to hear them all. But Snowstorm 2024 is still upon us, and we're trying to. Hopefully by next week it's going to be gone. Yeah. It sure is hanging around for a while. But
we're under our second polar vortex today. It rolled in yesterday afternoon. So
yeah.
It just as we thought we were getting out, it's like the old mafia thing. We're getting pulled back in for a couple of more days of, below 20-degree weather.
Yeah, so. But it'll. I mean, and of course, anybody listening to us up north is, just thinking we're a bunch of wimps.
Oh, they're giggling, And for our listeners in Norway, I know you guys can just laugh at us. It's okay.
Right. I had a couple of things. Well, actually, I have an on-air confession to make. It's a confession / Tool Talk Radio's quick tip / roundtable because I'm not 100% sure this is going to work. I'm gonna throw this at you. And
I've called you all here because I need some honest answers.
Yeah, they all kind of broke. So, when do I start?
There is a basket of oil-soaked rags above a wood-burning stove.
Are you out of your mind? You put a jet engine on a lawnmower?
This time, they are going to be held accountable. This time, they are the ones who will pay.
Okay, I guess we'll get to it now. I thought, okay, whatever, who cares? So here's my confession, Allan. So now keep in mind. I just want to throw in a couple of contributing factors. We remodeled our kitchen.
You did.
Since, if you remember, last year we were lamenting the fact that we had a frozen pipe that burst in our attic. Luckily, I was home. It could have been a lot worse. We had a lot of friends that had much more damage than we did. But nevertheless, one of the things that caused it is we had freezing temperatures and power outages. We had no way to get warm, whatever. So, okay. But we've been pretty diligent about making sure the faucets are dripping. We're always talking about it here on the show. We did a kitchen remodel, including putting in a new faucet and it's one of the single handle faucets. There's not a separate hot and cold faucet.
Right. Okay.
We left them dripping pretty good on Wednesday night. I think whatever that coldest night was, I guess it was Wednesday. And I woke up and boom, the cold water was frozen. And I mean, the hot water side worked, but the cold water line was frozen. And I was just like, doggone it. And I spent over 3 hours I got it thawed out. I mean, it took a lot of time, just putting some gentle heat on there under the cabinet. We used a blow dryer. We used, whatever, space heater and things like that. But no crack or whatever. But I'm like, when you have a single faucet, a single handle faucet, it's kind of hard to determine the sweet spot of where am I getting it exactly, the same amount of cold and the same amount of hot dripping out, right?
It can be, yeah. Certain models.
Don't roll your eyes at me.
No, it can,
well,
really
it's
it can
one that,
be because
okay.
some of them they're different ones. I mean, some of them are pretty obvious.
Yeah.
You just kind of sling it over to one side or the other. But then you've got a lot of the fancier, schmancier models that turn and adjust.
Right.
And I have a friend that has a faucet that I've known for years. And I mean, after years, I still cannot get her sink to give me the temperature I want because of the elaborate single-headed faucet that she has.
And some of them are very temperamental. You barely move it 1 degree.
I will freely admit, there are some difficult ones to get along with out there.
So we had ours, if this makes sense, if you're picturing it almost as a clock hand, we had it in about the 10 o'clock position.
Right.
We thought we were getting a good mix. Well, it turns out that really what we needed to have it is in like the 12 o'clock position.
Okay.
Whatever. Okay. But here was my idea that I had after. It's funny how you get these ideas after the fact. But I thought, okay, would this be a good way of testing this? If you have a single handle faucet, you get under your sink, and I'm not advising this because I'm asking Allan here on the air. What if you got under the sink? Let's just suppose you turn the cold water line off, and then you test it. And so you pull the hot water, you pull it all the way open, and then you slowly pull it to the right until it stops. In other words, all the hot water goes off. Is that the indication? And then what I would picture is, okay, once you've done that and you've reached, you maybe take a picture of it or something, or you make sure everybody understands where that handle is, and maybe you back it off a little to the left or something. Would that be an accurate way of deciding where the sweet spot is? I don't know if I described it well.
In theory, what you just said should work perfectly, and it won't work.
Okay, that's why I was wondering, why won't it work?
Because you are missing one tiny little fact about your faucet.
Okay.
Is that it is also a mixing valve.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, explain that.
Yeah, well, what people don't really realize is there's only one spout coming out. You've got two different waters coming in. You have a hot side and a cold side.
Yeah.
But the actual access point in there is a mixer.
Well, I knew that, yeah, but...
So just because you turned off the cold side doesn't mean you'll ever get the hot side to go completely off. Depending upon the mixing, the actual little mixer, the mixing area inside the faucet. That's going to cause you complications.
Okay.
So it depends entirely on the individual faucet. Some have better mixing valves than others. So if you've got a good one, you should, in theory, be able to take it all the way and say, okay, I'm going to turn off all my hot water. And if the cold water's off, you should get no water.
Okay.
But if you've got kind of a cheap mixing valve or they just have a couple of pipes running there to each other, it may not turn the hot water completely off.
Okay.
It
really
really just depends.
We
on the
spent a little
faucet.
more to get a good faucet, so maybe
it might work for you, but it might not work for the guy with a contractor grade.
Okay. All right.
Because keep in mind, there is either a mixing valve or a little mixing area inside of your faucet.
Okay, so because I thought that was a great. Well, the thing is, we figured out where just because of where it froze, we already figured out where to put ours. But I wanted to help our listeners by coming up with a foolproof method of.
There's not,
but I guess you just got to do trial and error.
Trial and error. Find the sweet spot, and once you've found it, take a Sharpie and put a little mark or something right there, and kind of go.
Yeah,
it's right here.
Right.
Discreetly, so that you don't have to stare at it all year long for the 1 week of the year you need it.
And one thing for sure, one thing that does make a big difference, it doesn't seem like it, but boy, opening those cabinet doors, especially at night, that lets a lot of warm air in there. And, but I hope nobody else had the same problem that we did, but I have to imagine people did.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure there is, because I've dealt with, fat in the lines, water in the lines, too much water in the lines. And of course, right now in Memphis, we've had a lot of broken pipes.
Right.
So now we got low water pressure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to move along from the cold weather discussion. Unless you've got comments, like we said, we're keeping it wide open for you if you want to get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989 and let us know if you've got any battle stories that you want to share.
And don't forget to properly celebrate National Penguin Day today.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't have picked a better animal for the situation. So, okay.
And I'll give you one last little tip. Once your water pressure here in the Mid-South returns to normal, don't forget to clean out the aerator on your faucets. Because once the water pressure comes back up, any rust, debris, sand, or other junk that might be in the line could be pushed through on down your lines and mess up your water pressure because there's debris in your aerator.
And the aerator is just that little screen. It usually unscrews at the tip of the faucet to catch all your stuff. So, okay, cool. Hey, and you know who, let's shift gears. You know who I bet was busy this week because he's busy all the time, but especially if somebody's heater went out.
Yeah.
Our good buddy, Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration. Another reason, I know for a fact his technicians were braving these slick roads and everything else. They are out there in the middle of this battle trying to help you maintain your HVAC system, which is a critical. I mean, what's more important than your HVAC system for your home? It needs to be precisely calibrated. You need clean air ducts. You need to make sure that you're dealing with the latest technology so that it's running efficiently. And you also want to utilize the technology of the Remy Halo system, which basically creates the UV power of the sun inside your heating unit and or your HVAC unit, where it's pumping out clean air, and every bit of every molecule in that comes out of that system is cleaning every surface that it hits. It's just really great technology. But what makes Brown Refrigeration stand above the rest is the great business culture that Larry Brown has cultivated over the last 40 plus years that they've been in business. They are a rock solid company, which is exactly what you need in your HVAC provider. They're great people. Get in touch with them at 901-362-1881 or go to their very easy to remember website, brownref.com. All right, you guys, we're going to take a quick break, and this is going to be a lot of fun. In our historically terrible discussion, we're going to talk about padded toilet seats.
No.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I assure you, Lord Vader, my men are working as fast as they can.
Perhaps I can find new ways to motivate them.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I'll give it to Darth Vader. He's always looking for solutions. He's a solution-oriented individual. So that's what you need in a leader. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We have a few subjects on the table. For one thing, it is National Penguin Day. Wait, is that all it's called? National?
That's all.
Okay. Well, that's all it needs. Simple and to the point. We're celebrating that. So if you've got any good penguin stories, if you've got if you've ever watched March of the Penguins or whatever,
may have to go home and watch Happy Feet again.
Yeah. So. Or if you've got any cold weather snowstorm 2024 battle stories, or just a straight up home improvement discussion you want to start, get in touch with us. The Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, 901-683-0989. And you can also text us and send us pictures through that line. You can also watch the show on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page and the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. And we also invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the 3 posts we've made over there. So, all right, this is going to be a fun discussion.
Oh, my.
This armor's useless. Why do we even wear it?
Oh, you stink!
This is the worst.
Max, I'd be curious if you've experienced any of these, but
Yes.
Okay, good. We're talking in our historically terrible conversation today. We're talking about I don't want to just label the 1970s, but I'm kind of going to 1970s padded toilet seats with particular reference to the fur-lined toilet seat cover and the toilet tank cover. I'm sorry, Al. And I know they're still making these. And if you're out there and you make these and you want to sponsor the show, I guess I just blew that sale. But this is okay. We probably have to make the distinction because let's just
things
say
in moderation.
How about badly made? We always have to say badly made toilet seat cover. There's nothing wrong with a comfortable toilet seat, but But I seem to remember back in the 70s, Allan, split. It would be like this cheapo vinyl that would split.
Yeah.
Then the foam padding would come out, and then it would get bad, and it, like we said, it turned into a bacteria farm in there.
Well,
and we posted a great picture of an example of what we're talking on our Facebook page.
There was a terrible mini monster movie years ago that said something along the lines of "They'll get you in the end."
Oh, gosh.
And that was those products.
Yeah.
Once again, the 70s was such a time of rampant optimism because we had so much new stuff.
What do you rampant optimism? Don't you remember the malaise era or the?
No, I mean, we had so many new products. We were like a little kid with a brand new box of scissors. We were just running down the hall with them. We'd never.
I remember the 70s differently than you, Allan.
Well, but you see, coming out of the 60s and 70s, we just had so many products coming at us and television.
Yeah. I mean, we were in the space age,
every day in the 60s and 70s, there was some new shocking invention or some new product from Europe or some new something that you saw on television, or there was some new reason to do something. And shag carpet, my goodness, did that just go crazy? Wasn't the best of ideas, but you'd never had 3-inch deep carpet before. You'd never had these things, and then then we had vans completely done in them. And next thing you knew, you walked in the bathroom, and you had carpet on the floor. You had a seat cover done in carpet around it. You had a fuzzy seat cover for it. And then you had the worst invention ever, if you were a small boy, was the fuzzy cover that went over the lid. That meant the lid periodically would slam down unexpectedly because it couldn't lay flat against the tank.
That's the thing too. So it created several issues. It created, for one thing, that's a good point. When that lid is precisely
designed
calibrated
to lean back.
So it sits up, and then if you put an inch of padding up there, it's just enough to make it,
unstable.
Unstable. So the other thing, it seems like nobody considered back then, because you were talking about carpeted bathrooms or the faux, the padded toilets. I mean, the fur-lined toilet tank cover. Man, your bathroom is full of humidity. Somebody takes a shower, it steams up. That humidity goes into the fibers. It sits there. It gets under the fiber. And you talk about a breeding ground for mold and mildew and
carpet beetles,
smell.
Everything. My gosh.
And then it just, I don't know. That part of it seems like nobody calculated that,
Oh, no.
Or maybe they did because they're like, well, you're going to have to replace this every 6 months once it gets, I don't know. I feel like, I remember the 70s with those pet rocks. And some of the dumb, and I'll just be honest, some of the toys we had we look back with nostalgia, but they were pretty lame. I mean, the action, the Batman action figures we had, they pale in comparison to what we have now. And
I mean,
stuff. So
it was
like,
the beginning of like Lego minifigures and stuff too. So there's that.
well, Lego has triumphed through the generations, Max. So they're but I'm just saying this seems like the exact mindset of the 70s. It's like, oh well, we can sell these. Let's sell them. Let's not think of the ramifications.
Hey, we were, keep in mind, with your fuzzy toilet also came your giant beanbag chair that could burst.
Oh, yeah, and they did.
Oh, yeah, and they did, because what 8-year-old ever sat in one?
Yeah, they jump into it.
They leapt into, yeah. So welcome to an era of, look, we have something new, but we're not real sure if it's a good idea, but here you go. Because this also brought out water beds and, let's face it, we had a lot of products and going into the mid and late 70s that, let's face it, most of our clothing back then was quite flammable.
Yeah.
Everything was made out of polyester. They just discovered, we really just discovered Velcro about then, fashion-wise.
Right.
It'd been around for a while, but there's just a lot of stuff when you go back, and I know people Max's age, when they go back and look at these pictures, I always look to see if I'm in them first. Well, we were challenged then because it was all new and we didn't necessarily know how bad it was going to turn out.
Well, I guess I'm curious though, because I have to believe that my biggest beef was badly made padded toilet seats.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I said, it was basically a very thin layer of vinyl.
Yep.
And with foam underneath it, which all it takes is one little break and moisture is going to get in there, or it hurts to sit on something with a split down the middle. But I wonder if there's better. I have to believe that there's probably better made padded toilet
Carbon
seats
fiber.
now. Yeah, carbon fiber. I mean, I'm sure there's gel. I'm sure there's good ones, but when they first came out, they were pretty bad. And nobody's going to convince me that it's a good idea to put a fur-lined a toilet tank cover. For one thing, man, when I don't know, think of the moisture that's trapping, because those things sweat, those things leak. I don't know.
There were a lot of ideas that, we just didn't think through quite as well as we could have.
I don't know, man. It's like, and I would love to know if somebody out there is a fan of these, because sometimes you go into a house, you've seen this. Go into a house and, man, it looks like things haven't changed for 50 years in there. Maybe some people enjoy this. Maybe there's people that are at arts and crafts fairs making, their own crocheted toilet tank covers and selling them and making money or something.
Well, so long as it's, anything is fine so long as it is well made for the purpose it accomplishes. Now, in the medical world, and especially if you go to Japan, man, things like electronic and smart toilets.
Oh, yeah.
Are
they're all
a
about
huge
it over there.
rage.
Yeah.
And things that warm and things that clean and things that spray water are not uncommon now.
Konnichiwa, kono tore yokoso.
Yeah.
That means, good morning. Welcome to the toilet.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Max. That sounded very creepy the way you said that. So, but no, you're right. They do it right. They incorporate electronics and
a lot of these ideas were the technology we had at the time, and we're now looking back 40 years later and going, "Oh, isn't that quaint?"
Right.
But in 1975, man, that was some hot technology. You'd never seen a shag carpet toilet seat cover before.
Okay. Well, somebody out there, if you love these things, we'd love to, our opinion isn't law, but it's just that's our feelings and we stick to them. So
it's fun to look back.
Hour 1 of Tool Talk Radio is in the can, Allan, but never fear, folks. We've got hour 2 coming up, and among that is our great moments in building history, discussing the disappearing bridge of Denmark and Sweden.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome to Hour 2 of Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can get in touch with us. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show. You can watch the show at the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page or the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. And while you're on social media, we also invite you to check out the posts we've made over on the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. If you're just tuning in, we've had kind of of course, we're talking about the cold. We've talked about, I made a confession, about my frozen water line. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing to host a home improvement show and then your water line freezes. But, it's, whatever, I'm willing to admit it on the air. And then, Allan has talked, he was obviously dealing with the cold, as well. So, if you've got any, 2024 snowstorm battle stories that you want to share, this is a great day to do it. Or maybe you've had some great triumphs as well. So,
and one of the greatest triumphs today is that it's National Penguin Day.
That's right, and that's a perfect holiday. It's a perfect way to celebrate. We hope you'll celebrate by enjoying, maybe go to the zoo and look at some penguins or watch some documentaries about penguins. Don't do it the way Allan's going to do it later by barbecuing a penguin.
Or as our buddy
not barbecuing a penguin. Send your hate mail to Joe, not me.
Okay.
Or as our buddy John Covington from Rescue 901 would say, we hope that you enjoy safely and in the traditional manner.
There you go. That's a pretty safe way. That's a pretty safe endorsement. So, hey, I do want you said something off the air that I wanted to throw in because we are going to move along from some of the ice talk, some of the cold talk, but I heard a term this week that I don't think I've ever heard it before, and you repeated it this morning, and it's called a frost quake.
Yeah, a cryo quake or a frost quake.
Chicago is getting, I'm hearing from my relative, man, it's like wind chills of 30 and 40 below zero, but these frost quakes are interesting, and you said we even got some out here.
Yeah.
So what is a frost quake,
Well,
Allan?
I'm glad you mentioned Chicago because that's kind of, ground central for where this kind of happens.
Oh, yeah.
Originally, Chicago was a marsh.
It's not
originally.
the best building. Yeah.
Not the best place. And what will happen is, because of the high moisture content, you'll get a frozen layer, kind of like permafrost, that's rigid. It's just frozen. It doesn't move and carry on like the ground normally does. And then as you get these extreme temperatures going up and down and back and forth, sometimes this stuff cracks. And when it cracks, it makes a sound like a tree branch snapping off. Or you can sometimes, if they're large enough, actually feel the ground around you shake a little bit as this stuff cracks and resettles.
Yeah.
It has been cold enough for a few frost quakes here in Memphis. I actually got to experience one this week, and, we heard it. We were in an area where we could see that no tree limbs fell, and it was like, everybody's kind of like, what was that? And I was like,
right.
I think I've heard about them. I read about them, but I've never actually heard one.
Right.
And I can say I mark that off the bucket list and go, okay, I know what a cryoquake is. It's and it's loud.
They also were showing one in the news report I saw for Chicago, was up on YouTube. They said that there's water. Well, don't forget there's water underground. There's water pockets underground, and as that stuff expands, it whatever it's swelling up again. That could, if it's under your deck or if it's under whatever, it could cause
it can cause some damage. Yeah.
But it's not like an earthquake type thing. I mean, they said it's not nearly as dangerous as like an earthquake.
No.
This is more just it's a sound, and you're going to go, what is that sound? Well, that's what it is.
Well, it's just one of these weird, Memphis generally doesn't have this length of cold.
Right.
Usually we get a day or two of cold, then it warms back up, then it cools back off. And, this has been a sustained. So, our ground froze pretty solid a week ago.
Right.
And then it really got cold. So now we have a really solid layer down there. And then it got warm again on Thursday. And we started getting more moisture. And that's when I began hearing,
Right.
That pop. And now, of course, the last 2 days, we're back in the freezer again until Sunday night going into Monday, and we're going to start having these temperatures expand again. So if you hear one of these kind of a tree branch sounds, but you don't see a tree branch come down, it might be your soil trying to adjust itself as these temperatures are flexing against really hard frozen soil.
You know, it's funny. I was anxious to move along because I'm starting to get chilly talking about all this cold, but you're just making me think of something. So here's something to think about. So we had a fig tree in our backyard.
Right.
Okay, and I'm no expert on. All I know is the way the branches grew, it created almost like this bowl in the where the branches went out. It held water in the bottom, and eventually the tree rotted and it died. Well, if you've got vulnerable trees that maybe they're trapping water, maybe they're holding water. Well, what happens when you've got water and then it suddenly freezes? This seems like a recipe for some real tree damage and falling limbs and everything like that.
Well, that gets us into what is called volcano mulch.
Okay, what is that?
All right.
Oh, well, I know what that at the bottom of your tree.
Right,
So,
that's where people haven't properly mulched their trees and stuff. Basically, you should be building a moat around the tree so that you've got good drainage, and when it does rain, it puts the water where it needs to be. When they mound the mulch up like a volcano going up the side of the tree, you're trapping water and moisture against the living bark of the tree that's designed to be above ground.
I guess I'm thinking of the limbs up in the air, 20 feet in the air. I'm thinking if they're porous or if they've got little pockets that hold water, that can't be a good
Well,
thing.
we're kind of getting there because the way they've mulched it, it causes the tree to not be as vital or as strong as it should be, so that when you get these larger branches up there that, especially now, have absorbed so much water, the freezing and contracting will break and snap those branches off.
Yeah. Just, you got to think about everything, man. It's like,
there's a lot of cause and effect. 3 or 4 years ago, you mounded that mulch way up there. Well, you actually weakened your tree, and now your tree may not be as resistant to the wind, the limbs being twisted, or possibly even being frozen and popped off the tree.
Okay, boy, it's just it never ends. The battle continues. So, but we got to move the conversation along. So, we're gonna. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna get to our must-have item of the week and our great moments in building history.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
We painted the whole house, and without getting a drop of paint on anything but the flapping flotsam. What's that?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yeah, I hate being on those job sites with people that overreact. Take it easy, man. Just a little paint thinner will fix you up.
Yep.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page or the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. And we also invite you to, while you're on social media, scoot on over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. Pretty cool stuff, actually, up there. So we got a lot to get to, Allan. We're done. I'm done talking about the cold. Unless somebody wants to chime in, feel free.
I think we're all ready to start complaining about the heat.
Yeah. When August gets here, we just got to try to remember this time of year and say, I'd rather have heat than the cold. But anyway, let's get to our must-have item of the week. And I'm holding this up to the camera, so if you're watching the show, you can see this, and I'm moving it to show you how it works. But Max, you brought this one in, and tell people what I've got here.
It's called a digital caliper.
Right. Now, I brought in my cheapo little plastic caliper before that. I think it costs like $6. I use it for some of my wood turnings. Max, this is when I was doing tool and die work a little bit, we call these like micrometers. These are very precise. But this was a gift, right?
This was a gift from our buddy Lynn Neal, the Real Deal, from the Real Deal Racing Report.
You know, I don't know that I've ever met anybody who's friendlier or has more energy than our good buddy Lynn Neal. He really is the real deal. And Max, this is a nice instrument. I mean, this is digital. If you're wondering what this is, folks, it is you could measure exact diameters or exact depths. This has a thing for, you could put it in a hole and measure the depth down to the thousandth of an inch.
And not only that, but it's also a Japanese brand.
Yeah, it's, how do you pronounce it?
Mitsutomo.
Okay. I would have never pronounced it that way looking at it. But this has a dial. Now, Allan, we didn't have I used these back in the day, but we didn't have the digital one.
Right.
This is pretty cool. And if you look, you can see that I'm scrolling this. It's got a nice little scroll mechanism. And Max, I know you're all about precision, and there's nothing saying that this only has to be for working on cars or auto work or metal work. Because with metal work, a lot of times, especially with like tool and die or you're making threads, you need exact diameters, but there's nothing saying you can't have this kind of precision in your woodworking.
Well, that tool right there, I'm going to throw in, you go down to your big box store, you run over to like the PVC aisle, and you pick up some 1-inch fittings and some 1-inch PVC pipe.
Right.
And your expectation is that all of these pieces are going to fit together exactly as advertised.
It's easy to take that for granted. You slip it together, there's no...
People forget the amount of engineering and level of precision we have in today's world.
Yep.
Because of devices like that, we'll go back to, Eli Whitney and mass production of, you think like, the modern automobile is not possible without that device.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have to have, like, the inside of a piston has to be exactly the right.
Our modern world, I mean, we have a lot of really cool tools, but occasionally you happen on one that is just absolutely mission critical to the modern world.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And not only that, too, but like the fact that it comes from such a simple design, too, because I believe there's like relics in like ancient China that show there were calipers back in the day still.
Yeah, I mean, this is because the way this will work, you could measure the inside diameter of a hole, you could measure the outside diameter of a radius, you could stick this little end part into a hole, and it's great. So if you're interested in absolute precision, get yourself a digital caliper, man. Pretty cool. And Max, you got it's a nice carrying case, and so you'll
and it's a classic one because that's back from when Lynn Neal used to work in the Snap-on tool business and everything, and so that's kind of a relic from his old days back in the 90s, and I'm sure it probably still works just as well as stuff today.
Well, he's obviously a guy that respects his tools because Allan, these little points on the end, they need to be razor sharp, and they are. I mean, this thing, actually, Max, you could probably use, I know you like to weaponize everything. This thing you could probably wield this and,
Yeah, but such a waste.
Yeah.
It wouldn't hit anybody with that.
I got a tactical pen. I don't need to do that.
Okay. All right. Very good. That's the must-have item of the week, a digital caliper. So I don't know if you need digital calipers when it comes to roofing or gutters or siding or the windows or anything to do with the exterior protection of your home. But I have to believe somewhere in his workshop, our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling has one of these calipers.
He does, I promise you.
Because he's a man. He's a man of precise thought. Boy, you talk about a guy that is laser focused. He took all the skills that he's had through his career and brings them to bear on Big M Roofing and Remodeling. The guy, for one thing, he's a GAF Master Elite installer. He's always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau. He knows customer service. One thing about Jay, people enjoy talking to Jay because he listens, he has solutions, he brings a great energy, he has a great business culture. It's just fun working with Jay Hill. Not everybody has that skill set. Not everybody is also a former insurance agent, because when we're talking about especially the exterior protection of your home and in particular your roof, there are times where roof damage or roof replacement is covered by your homeowner's insurance. And that is a tricky process, though, because that is, for one thing, you need an advocate. It's almost a situation where it's like a legal advocate. Well, Jay is that advocate. He comes over. For one thing, all of his consultations are free. And, like we said, roofing, siding, gutters, and windows, that's all working harmoniously to protect the outside of your home. Well, when you get Jay over there, he can make a comprehensive plan. And if you are if any damage or if there any of the project is covered by your homeowner's insurance, that's going to save you thousands of dollars. And if it's not, at least you have an informed decision. You can make an informed decision. Also, Jay has 30 lenders at his disposal. So if you need to finance, that's not a problem either. You're going to qualify in minutes. It's a super easy process, and then pick the terms that work best for you. And also keep in mind, GAF and the products that Jay works with. These are roofing systems. These things are so well thought out that they offer lifetime transferable warranties. That is, I've talked to my realtor friends. That is a big selling point. If you have a really, if you have a solid roof and this thing has a lifetime transferable warranty, that puts you head and shoulders above when people are looking for a home. It's critical to have a solid roof. So we love Jay. We love the business culture that he's created, and he's just a great person to work with. So get in touch with him. Call him directly. You can reach him at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. And I encourage you to do that. His website's pretty active. There's a lot going on there. And lots of testimonials up there as well. So, all right, Max, well, let's get to it, man.
And now, great moments in building history.
All right, so we've discussed this structure. Really, this is something you have to sort of see, because when you first see it, you think you're looking at something that was photoshopped, or it looks like something that doesn't make any sense. But it is the Oresund Bridge, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's not. It's got the O with the slash through it, like the planet, like a planet Saturn or something. But basically, this is it's a bridge and a tunnel. So when you and it's connecting the countries of Denmark and Sweden, because they're very close to each other. I think they're only about 5 miles apart. Right. But that's a big deal back in I don't know what they did back in the day. They would have had to just take boats back and forth.
Right.
There's a lot of people if it's 5 miles, you might live in Denmark and work in Sweden every day, and you have to make that commute. Well, when the idea for this bridge was, part of it is on the top of so it's really about a 50-50. You go about 2.5 miles as a bridge, and then it tapers down, and it goes into a man-made island, and then it goes underwater, and it goes to, and then so it goes into a tunnel system, and it's really interesting to look at. But there's a lot of practical purposes. I thought originally they just built this thing because it's cool. Like, well, let's do this. Well, there's a lot of practical reasons to do with wind, and to do with there are shipping lanes that you can't disrupt, and you don't want to destroy the ecosystem. So it really made a lot of sense. And so this is going to be a cool discussion. There's a lot of moving parts here, Allan.
Well, and also there's an airport, and we're going to throw in a word you don't often discuss on this show.
Okay.
Icebergs.
I forgot about that. It's cold up there. Yeah. I didn't think of the iceberg part. That's right.
So here we go. All right. Both countries have, for the last 50, 60 years, thought it was a great idea. Why don't we have a bridge? Mm-hmm. Honestly, we like each other. We speak the same. We do the same. So they began working on this, honestly, decades ago. And there were a lot of stops and starts because nobody could really figure out how to make this work.
Well, they started talking about it in 1910.
Yeah.
It was the idea was great. Yeah, let's build a bridge. Then the engineers got over there and said, this isn't going to be so easy.
Well,
this is a hostile
this is a hostile environment.
Territory. Yeah.
We're going to put this big bridge across, and one iceberg is going to come along, and we're not going to have a bridge anymore.
Yeah. So it's cool. There was a lot of drama and even World War II drama that came into play. So Max will want to talk about that. So we'll continue that conversation. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Extraordinary events call for extraordinary actions. We form an allegiance to use sudden violence. Okay. Do you have the tools to turn a wooden mop handle into a stake? Which size?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
That's what built America, that can-do attitude. You need people that are just, willing to do what it takes. So.
And vampire exterminators.
Exactly. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page or the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. And also, while you're on social media, scoot on over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. If you're just tuning in, we're in the middle of our Great Moments in Building History discussion, talking about the Oresund Bridge. And just to recap, this bridge is 5 miles long. It's not accurate to say the entire thing is a bridge, though. Basically, the first 2.5 miles go from Sweden over to a man-made island, which I don't know if I can pronounce it, Paraholm. I guess that's what it's called. The man-made island of Paraholm. And then it's suddenly, if you're looking at it from the air, it looks like this thing just disappears into nothingness. And then it turns into an undersea tunnel, and it winds up coming out in Denmark. But we thought, originally, I thought maybe the reason they built this is just because it's a cool architectural challenge, but really there's a lot of practical reasons. At the top of the list, I will give this to the Swedes and the people of Denmark. The animating feature was they wanted this to be the least amount of disruption to the ecosystem. They have a lot. It's a very delicate ecosystem. As Allan pointed out, they also have icebergs. There's shipping lanes. There's things to consider. So a tunnel makes a lot of sense. I used to wonder, why would people be so eager to put tunnels underwater? Well, for one thing, you don't have the high dangerous winds if you're driving across a bridge with these great winds, and also there's a lot of safety reasons where it's actually safer to be in a tunnel for some things. But it's a really unique construction, Allan. So, I mean, a lot of factors here. And we also make sure, let's budget some time to talk about this man-made island because that's interesting, too.
Well, all right, let's just start with, great idea of starts and stops, all the way up into the 70s where they're like, okay, we're going to do it, and we're not going to do it. So it's not until about 95 that the final idea for this is solidified, paid for, and they get started, and the traffic started flowing in July of 2000.
Right.
So
not bad. 5 years for something this massive.
To do an amazing amount of engineering. So here we go. Things that they had to consider. They had to consider air traffic, wind, all of the different weathers they have. They're close to the Arctic. It's kind of ironic to be talking about that today.
Yeah.
But, we feel like we're close to the Arctic, but there's nothing compared to what they go through. Of a thing we don't really talk about much in Memphis, they have whales.
They
have salmon runs.
Talked about
they have, So there's so much to consider. And if you look at it, it's also not straight.
No, you have to make it into it's sort of a...
It's a nice, easy curve that works with the geography, the flow of the water, and the maintenance. Now, to give you an idea, if you were to be driving on Interstate 10 and you've never driven through Mobile, Alabama before, you may find yourself shockingly going through a tunnel that goes under Mobile Bay. Using the same technology as this.
Yeah.
Mobile Bay's tunnel's a little older, but it's the exact same idea. It's let's take advantage of what we can do underneath to get you there safely. And that includes air.
Yeah, you got to have
The
air. You
heat.
got to think about flooding. You got to.
And not only does this thing carry the traffic, it's also a railway.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing carries millions of tons of people, cargo, rail tracks, all of this for 5 miles between countries.
Can I
Absolutely astounding.
I want to throw something at Max because Max, I thought you were interested in this. Before they even could break ground, so to speak, they had something. There were some leftovers from World War II that they had to contend with.
They had to, let's just say, they had to handle unexploded ordinances.
Yeah, there was like 16,
16 of them
bombs under there that they could find. Well, you got to know that stuff. I guess they must have been like what, torpedoes or something, or I don't know. But
or
they
like
had to
maybe like those famous German land like mines and everything that would like float in the water.
Yeah. I did want to say something else though, because we should make a distinction. There are tunnels where it's literally, you say you're going underwater. Well, it's truer to say you're actually going under the ground, under the water. Like
Yes.
they bore a hole through this. This one is different though. They constructed this from pre-made sections of tunnel that they connected, which I don't know how the heck they did that, but that they said fit together almost like a Tetris game.
Yes.
And they had to lay them at the bottom of the ocean. Well, and they're trying to not disrupt the ecosystem.
Right.
And I don't know, man. I don't know how they did this in 5 years. This just sounds our bridge here in Memphis is what, about a mile across. We're talking 5 miles of this type of thing. So.
And our bridge doesn't disappear into a tunnel.
Right.
So it would be like taking either one of our bridges and the George Wallace Tunnel from Mobile and tying them together and then making them both twice as long.
Right.
So astounding. And one of the major factors is they literally had to build a man-made island to anchor the bridge coming from one side and the tunnel coming from the other.
Okay, so when I saw the aerial view of this is what's interesting to me. So, and I watched a few dash cam videos of people driving over the bridge. You expect this thing to just be this island to be like a slab of concrete or something, because you're thinking, oh, it has to be, it has to support the weight of things like that. This looks like, there's trees, there's plants. Right. They use natural materials because, as they said, they were concerned about the environment. And now this little man-made island is home to 500 different species of plants, birds and fish. The birds love it. There's fish that hang around there. It's interesting because, to me, this is a recipe for the future in terms of maybe how we construct our cities or how we construct our I don't even know, oil rigs or things like that. It's really a cool ecosystem.
Kind of makes me think of like that idea of what Frank Lloyd Wright had in mind when he wanted to construct that mile-high tower, where it's like it has a lot of foliage on it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They said they made the island from materials they dredged from the sea floor.
Yes.
That's cool, man. It's like, so, it's just interesting. You think of all the nutrients and everything in there, but what a challenge though.
Well, and again, 5 years. This was extremely well thought out, extremely well planned, and you are talking about some seriously precise logistics, because you didn't order all the steel you needed to be delivered at one time.
Mm-hmm.
You ordered, you order by phase.
Right.
So each phase of this had to be very carefully thought out. And, here's your big tie-in to why this matters to you doing a home project. Because the idea is, like your calipers, you want to be precise about what do you need when. Because right now I'm building a house for a client.
Right.
And it is crucially important to time what do you need delivered when. For the past week, of course, I haven't had any sheetrock deliveries.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you can't go ahead and finish the rooms you've already built. So you've always got something in action, but you've also got to time when and where do you need what? How much steel did you need? How much concrete did you need? Like you said, they were pre-building this tunnel. So each tunnel being fitted in place was just in construction, and the next layer coming behind it is in construction. So that you have this constant flow, because that's the only way you could build something that long, that complex in 5 years.
Well, the other thing too, what I think's pretty interesting is this this underwater tunnel. It's not like the ocean floor is perfectly flat.
Ooh.
You probably got it. And then I'm just thinking, what if you hit a little valley or a canyon, or if you have to build up? I'm picturing underwater bulldozers or thing. I don't know, man. It just seems like a really massive project. I almost see how the benefit of just boring a hole. We've seen, like, if you watch that Ocean's 13 movie where they had that big drill that dug the tunnel. That's what it looks like, these giant drills. But
well, Elon Musk built the boring company with a tunnel borer that works faster than any borer in previous history.
So do you know much about the safe? Because the first thing on my mind is like, okay, what if this thing leaks? What if there's suddenly, what if somebody, what if there's a truck driving through there and it wrecks or starts on fire or something? And you have to think about how to get air down there and how to prevent, I don't know.
Well, actually, I got a tour of the George Wallace Tunnel over in Mobile, and how they ran the power and how they run ventilation and safety protocols through there is pretty amazing, because they have kind of hidden tunnels from us driving through. You don't see them, but in between the lanes, they also have cut-throughs so that emergency crews can get through, air ventilation can happen, fire suppression is in place, and water detection is a huge part of it.
I would have to imagine.
Yeah, so it is fascinating to go down one of the, what do they call them in Star Trek? Jeffrey tubes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, going down the maintenance chute of the George Wallace Tunnel was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, it's a pretty big thing. And the nice thing is the countries cooperated together, which, imagine that. And
they wanted to make it happen.
To have a successful engineering project. We have some more thoughts about the Oresund Bridge, and we'll talk about those when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
There's an exposed wire above the bathtub as well.
Oh, yeah, shock wire. I call it that because if you take a shower and you touch the wire, you die.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yeah, nothing like living adventurously, right, Allan? And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page and the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. And you can watch 24 hours a day. You can come back and watch a replay of the show that way if you'd like. Also, while you're on Facebook, you can scoot on over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. Well, Allan, we got a text that we're going to get to in just one moment. Stand by, Danny. But we were talking about the Oresund Bridge in, it's the disappearing bridge, because it's really a bridge and a tunnel system that connects Denmark and Sweden, and it's a neat engineering marvel. If you've got YouTube, jump on YouTube. There's some really interesting videos about it, and I didn't see much downside. I don't think anybody was hurt or killed in the construction of the bridge, as far as I know. It's a great way to connect the countries. They're only 5 miles apart. Apparently, it's boosted both of their economies. It came off, more or less without a hitch, and the environment around them, including the whales and the iceberg and everything else, is thriving. Just a nice feel-good project, and it functions, and it shows two countries can work together. So
absolutely.
But we need to shift gears because we had a very practical text that we need to get to. So, Max, Danny sent us. I love how Danny always texts us like right before we're about to close up shop. But,
he just finished his coffee. He's all right.
Okay. But Danny is an electrician, and he sent us some pictures. I do want to say one thing, because I think this is a safety thing we need to put out there real quick. there's a sort of a counter. I know people are using space heaters right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's sort of this counterintuitive thing. I would think, because of electricity, you would think it's safer to plug a heater into a surge protector, because if it overheats or something, then it shuts it off. It's actually the reverse. They say you plug a heater directly into a wall socket, right? But you better make sure that wall socket is not being used for something else. Is that what Danny sent us here?
Well, not exactly.
And Alan, I'm no electrician, so I'm speaking kind of out of the, but what do we got here?
Well, what he's warning us about, I'll let Max describe.
Yeah, what did he send us to? It's a pretty horrifying picture.
Well, it's a plug that got fried. It said, in regard to recent requests by a utility company to conserve electrical power, how will the electrical grid handle the demand caused by everyone charging their EVs? Photos are recent problem resulting from 120-volt charger pulling 12 amps on typical 120-volt wall outlet circuit. Chargers need dedicated circuit and preferably should use 240-volt charger and outlet. Yes, wall was on fire. Fortunately, homeowners saw it in time. Great show as always. Danny, Germantown Electric Company, blessings.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. But all right, Alan, this is your wheel. I am not an electrician. Right, we always call it the theory of electricity.
Yeah, that's the theory of electricity because we're not always sure exactly what it's going to do. Okay, real quickly, since this really ties into everybody using like a space heater at home and all that kind of stuff going on right now, really simple math of the rating of amperage. I'm not going to go into the theory of electricity and all that kind of stuff, guys. This is just really simple math you can do at home. You have a 15 amp breaker.
Yeah, go to your circuit breaker.
That's your general idea. So you're sitting in your bedroom, you're listening to the radio, you got a lamp plugged in. That is generally plugged into a wall socket that is on a circuit with other wall sockets that goes back to your breaker box, and chances are that is a 15 amp breaker.
And your
simple
box
math
will say the number of
it'll
amps
have a 15
pulling, right?
on it or a 20 or whatever.
Right.
In the United States, generally we're talking 120 volts, 15 or 20 amp breakers.
Yep.
Now, that means the wire needs to be able to handle 15 amp load. That means the wall socket itself needs to be able to handle a 15 amp load. Because when they can't handle the loads properly, you get impedance, which is resistance, which expresses itself as heat.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but those little tags that we always rip off the end of an electrical device you buy, when you look at it, it'll say how many amps it's pulling, right? And then you just do the math. How many of these can I get in a 15 amp thing?
Exactly.
Right.
And you never want to put 14 and a half on a 15 amp,
Even these heaters will have the amperage it's using.
And stuff like heating devices and chargers have a tendency to really pack some amperage. So if you've got a lamp and a microwave on this line and you just plugged a big old 12 amp charger into it, you're going to overheat something.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's where you really get in mind. And I'm going to sound like a 1950s safety commercial for a second. This is why you don't use frayed cords. This is why you don't use chipped, old, or discolored wall sockets. A wall socket is a couple of bucks at your big box store. Turning off the breaker and changing one out is not a bad thing. And if you don't want to do it, there are professionals more than happy. You can pay them to come into your house and do this. But if you've got really old wall sockets, and this is where we're going to get into kind of a battle of old technology, new technology.
Right.
Because LED lighting uses so much less electricity, but some of our new chargers, especially for things like EVs or your quote-unquote power generator, which is actually a giant battery, these things pull some amperage. And you need to do a little simple math, and you need to be aware that, that maybe you need to watch this.
I am curious, though, because Danny had mentioned something about people charging their EVs. I have a friend, they have 2 Teslas, and they have a very specific, I mean, they have a charger in their garage and everything. I feel like if you have an EV, you're going to get that installed, right? I didn't think you just plugged it into
You should have an electrician designate, everything according to the specs for charging this particular device.
Okay.
Because it is, when you make a life choice like something like that, your vehicle is a mission critical purchase. And I love to tell people, like, when you buy a computer, don't get cheap on the chair. Yeah. If you're going to make a life choice like an EV, don't get cheap when you get home. So, make sure that you understand the purchase involves more than just bringing the item home.
So when we're talking about space heaters, a good rule of thumb too, I guess. So, obviously keep it away from things, but touch that cord and see if it's hot. That's a problem, right? I mean,
the cord should not be excessively warm, nor should you have daisy-chained surge protectors and that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
The other thing that you really should check is how old are your electrical outlets, because they age too, and as they get older, they provide more resistance and they get warmer. And I will tell you from any number of ghost hunts, and we'll talk about those in October, the number of electricians needed, not spirits, that I have discovered with a laser temperature gun walking by and checking the temp of outlets in an old house.
Very good, Danny. Thanks for sending that in. That was an important thing to bring up.
That's a big thing to worry about right now.
Real quick, Allan, what's going on with, let's shift gears. Let's get to our shameless promotions. What's going on with Dark Oak Media this week?
Well, the number one thing going on at Dark Oak Media this week, besides us, because we are a full podcast on YouTube and Spotify, you can get to us at tooltalkradio.com, is, Mardi Gras is approaching. So over at Dark Oak Media, our shows on Haunted New Orleans are all the rage right now. Because, it's hard to imagine, as cold as it is right now, Mardi Gras in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
Oh, it's amazing.
Groundhog's Day's right around the corner.
Yeah, Groundhog Day will be here in a couple of weeks, so it's getting exciting. We're almost to spring.
And I know Allan sounds like a reasonable and civilized individual and everything, but you hang with some weird people.
Yes, I
Your
do.
New Orleans friends are a piece of work. So
they're amazing.
You've got all that on darkoakmedia.com.
We do.
So, okay. Wow, what a show. I don't know. I'm glad Danny weighed in because, the electrical component, there's a lot going on. I really hope by next week we're talking about something else besides this.
Besides the cold?
The cold. I don't know what the extended forecast is.
It's going to be warm and rainy next week.
I don't care if it's 50 degrees. 50s. I'm putting shorts and a t-shirt.
It's going to be in the 50s.
But we really appreciate that, Danny. That was a good one, and lots of interesting topics today. But regardless of how interesting it is, the show's over. We're out of time. I can hear the music. So on behalf of my buddy Allan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass, and our loyal listeners, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening to Tool Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week.
And happy National Penguin Day.